And there's a particular process which speeds up the attainment of the goal, which is pure love of Krishna, which means pure bliss, pure knowledge, pure happiness. So there's a process, and that's called Bhakti Yoga. And you will know Bhakti Yoga means the yoga of love and devotion, and it actually is the highest form of yoga. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yoganam Apasavesham Makrutena Kirana Shadavam Bhajate Yomam Sayuktatamo Memataha. Krishna says, and of all yogis, he who abides in me with great faith and worships me with always loving devotion is intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. So this is the age of yoga. You know, everybody nowadays does yoga, especially in America. It's so popular. So many yoga studios. But generally they don't know what the goal of yoga is. So yoga means to become a yogi. A yogi means one who can control the senses. So it's all about controlling your senses, controlling your thoughts, controlling your mind, controlling your body, and living to become a better person, living to perfect your life. It's all about perfecting your life. Because ultimately everybody is potentially perfect. Krishna is God. God can't create anything imperfect. So he created us perfect. But the problem is that we decided that we could be happy without Krishna. So that's when our imperfection began. That we thought we could be happy. So we've got this physical body, and we know the physical body is not perfect because it has so many defects. You know what are the defects of the body? Has many defects. It's, yes.
It has imperfect senses?
It's got imperfect senses. That means you can't see your own eyelids. You can't see the real size of the sun. You can't see in the dark. What else?
Propensity to make mistakes. Propensity to make mistakes.
We all make mistakes. You would know that. Everybody makes mistakes. We're subject to illusion. Srila Prabhupada gave the example of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was the man of the century, last century. But he was warned not to go to a certain prayer meeting. And he went anyway. He didn't believe there was any problem, and he got assassinated, he got shot. Nobody wants to get shot. So we make mistakes. We're subject to illusion. That means you don't see snakes in England, but the example is given that, you know, a rope looks like a snake, so you think it's a snake. But here, you could say you're driving down the road and you see somebody standing by the side of the road, it's dark, and it turns out to be a tree. So that's illusion. And then we have a tendency to cheat, which means that we think we know more than we know, and we think that we can teach others that we know more than they know. So this is cheating because we don't really know anything. And Socrates, you've all heard of Socrates, right? So Socrates was one of the greatest philosophers in the world. I mean, at least as far as Western philosophy. He's still studied in every university, Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, they study Socrates. So when Socrates was chosen that he was the most intelligent person in the Greek Empire, when they told him, he said, "No, you've made a mistake, I don't know anything." So that's the bottom line. We don't really know anything. We're all born in darkness. We're 6 feet tall, 7 feet tall, 5 feet tall, whatever it is. The universe is billions of miles. So what do we know? We don't know anything. It's like an ant trying to understand a computer. An ant can never understand a computer. So we are very limited, and we can't understand the unlimited. God is unlimited. Krishna is God. So we have these 4 imperfections, but there's other problems with the body too. You know what they are? Which are bigger problems, actually.
I'd say it'd be the mind, because
peace of mind.
The mind, yeah.
The mind can be a problem. Yeah, that's one big problem, especially nowadays. You know, this age we're all very advanced. You know, we have nice cars and ambulances and cell phones and everything else, but we can't control the mind. So many people have to take medication, take drugs, take alcohol, go see the shrink, because the mind is very hard to control. But that's only one of the problems. Another problem is that we are born. Being born is also very painful. Being in the womb. You know, if I stuck you in a cupboard for 9 months and made you stay in there, you wouldn't feel very happy, right? So life in the womb is described in the ancient scriptures of India, the Vedas. It's described how we're in the womb for 9 months, and it's a very terrible condition. You cannot move around, and your mother made food that's not, your body is very tender, and your skin, you know, the baby's skin is very tender. So you're cramped up in that condition for so long, and then you're forced out of the womb, and every baby comes out of the womb crying. Every baby comes out crying. It's a very hellish condition. You come out and there's a pile of blood and membrane, and it's nasty. And then immediately you're picked up by your relatives. Oh, look at this little baby, he's so cute. And you've got indigestion and you're crying. And you can't tell them what's wrong with you because you can't speak yet now, and they're too hot and they keep putting all these clothes on you, and you don't know how to explain to them. And then you have to go to school, and you hate school, and you have to learn your ABCs. You've already learned them in your last life. So it's a difficult condition. So we're in the womb, we're born, and then another problem is that we get old, and nobody really wants to get old. So old age is a problem. Of course, for a devotee, old age isn't really a problem, because the devotee knows that we are not the body. We're spiritual beings, and the body is just a temporary vehicle. So old age isn't a problem. In fact, old age is good, because in old age we should have some wisdom and control of the senses, because the senses can mislead you. So when you do the wrong things with your senses, when you are attracted to illusion and ignorant activities, then you get bad karma. And bad karma, you know, takes many shapes and forms, and it can be very, very difficult. And you do the wrong thing, and you get a bad reaction, and you say, why is this happening to me? I don't deserve this. That's karma. And the way you look right from the time you're born, all the, you know, the way your nose is, the way your face is, the color of your eyes, everything is your karma. The amount of intelligence you have, the amount of money you have, it's all karma. So, you know, this is a problem growing old, and of course we get so many diseases. You know, they have Boots drugstore, they have so many medicines, right? But they don't sell diseases, because nobody wants diseases. Srila Prabhupada gave this example. The drugstore doesn't sell diseases because nobody wants them. They sell cures for diseases, medication, but nobody wants disease. But we all get some kind of disease. And then we have to die. I'm not trying to be depressing, by the way. I'm just giving you a reality check that life is not easy. And so Krishna makes it easy though. Krishna makes it easy because he gives a very simple process for self-realization. And the process is just to chant Hare Krishna and to live in the association of devotees and to offer our food to Krishna and to try to lead a spiritual life. Live for the spirit, not for the body. So in the beginning it's not so easy because we've been used to living for the body for many lifetimes. Because that's why we come to the material world. We come to the material world to enjoy the body. We think the body can make us happy. But the body gives us so many problems. So therefore Krishna says, how's that verse go? I can't remember the Sanskrit, but he says, intelligent people do not take part in the enjoyment of the senses, in the enjoyment of the sense objects, because they know that such pleasures have a beginning and end, so the wise do not delight in them. So, in this material world, everybody's trying to enjoy the sense objects. But wise people, they know that these pleasures have a beginning and end, so they don't bother. Of course, in the beginning, practicing Krishna consciousness, we can't immediately give everything up. Well, you can, but we're not prepared to do that, or we have conditioning, so it's not so easy. He's agreeing.
Yeah,
You've been having problems. So, anyway, it's not so easy, but there's a process. And the process actually is a scientific process that frees you from this desire to enjoy things that will bring you suffering. So that's Bhakti Yoga and the process. So we can't all immediately move into a temple, which is okay. But we can chant Hare Krishna, we can offer our food to Krishna, we can follow the principles in the scriptures about how to make spiritual progress. There's so many directions, there's so many books. It's really not very difficult. So the alternative is that we either get spiritual or we have to take birth again and again and again and again. So it's really an easy decision that to be spiritual will make you happy, and if you carry on trying to enjoy your body in the wrong way, you'll end up suffering. So, Krishna makes it easy. Actually, the whole world used to be spiritual in one time, but in the modern age, we've been totally misled. I was just in Delhi, and it's the most polluted city in the world, and there's so much traffic there. And I was thinking that this is the responsibility of the Western countries who've done this, actually, especially England. I'm British myself, but the British, and the Americans, especially the British, and the Americans, they've created all these machines that are supposed to make life easy, but they've just made life more complicated. It's just, if you go to, here, okay, you get stuck on the M25, it's bad enough. But when you go to Delhi and you see all these cars, they're packed up, they can't move, and they're, everybody wants to get a car. There's only like 1.5 billion people in India. They want to get a car. So what's going to happen? It's just going to grind to a halt. So this is Western mechanical thinking. So all over the world, the most beautiful buildings are all churches, they're all temples. Like if you go to Durham Cathedral or Canterbury Cathedral or St. Paul's or Westminster or wherever you like, Salisbury, they're all the most beautiful buildings. So what happened? So, people got turned off religion. That's the problem, because they didn't have real religion. They did not have answers to all the questions that people need to have answers for, to actually have faith in God and to really surrender and take it very seriously. So therefore people became irreligious. They saw, so many problems with the Spanish Inquisition. The Spanish did some terrible things. If you go to the museums in London, you can see the things they used to torture people. They didn't accept Catholicism was the true religion. Also in India, they did the same thing in Goa, the Inquisition in Goa. How many have been to Goa? A lot of people go to Goa. So, and then, we came up with Darwin's theory, Charles Darwin. And this is a reaction because of the, people could see all the false religion, all the problems religions had caused. So they didn't believe that God created everything and everything works in a very wonderful way. It's just like I was thinking recently how wonderful material nature is. Like fruit, okay? Every type of fruit has a skin, whether it's an avocado pear, or a banana, or a pineapple, or a pear, or orange. Is that just an accident? That all these fruits that come nicely packaged? No, it's not an accident. And all the nuts, like peanuts and walnuts and chestnuts and pecan nuts and club nuts, they all have a shell. So it's all incredibly well designed. There's an intelligence behind everything, and material nature. The material world is incredibly well designed, but Krishna says, this is my inferior energy. Krishna says, Bhumir Apanalo Vajramano Buddharivacha Ahanka Iti Yang Me, Viname Prakriti Rastata. He says, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, force, ego. These 8 material elements comprise my separated inferior energy. So that's the material energy. And the material energy works in a wonderful way. And Prabhupada gave the example of how the salt water in the sea preserves the freshness of the water. It makes it antiseptic, having salt in the ocean. And then the sun evaporates the water and it becomes clouds. And then the clouds are full of fresh rainwater, and the wind blows the clouds inland, and then it rains and it comes down the rivers. So it's a wonderful arrangement. So we're told that everything came from a big bang. There's no God in control. This is what they teach. If you believe in God, or if you talk about God in Oxford or Cambridge and the PhD department, they'll think you're an idiot. They'll think you're totally stupid. That's what it's come to. So we're living in a very sick age, and nobody's happy. That's the problem. Like when I go to sell books at the university, I say, excuse me, you're a student or young professor, and they stop, and then I show them the book, and I said, have you ever heard of anxiety? And they all have anxiety. Even in Harvard University, like half the people have to get counseling for anxiety. But that's the best university in the world, so it doesn't bode well for general society if the best university in the world has got so many people with anxiety. So you're bound to be anxious if you don't know who you are. So that's what I say to the students, here you are, here's this picture, the changing body picture, and here you were a baby, you're a young child, you're a young adult. Okay, your baby body's gone now, hasn't it? Yes, my baby body's gone. Okay, but you're the same person, aren't you? So they all agree you're the same person. Some people are born intelligent, some people are musical, some people are nice people, some people aren't so nice people, some people are artistic. So we're the same person. So then who are you? Nobody knows who they are. So unless you know who you are, you can't possibly be happy. So knowing who you are, that's real education. That you're Krishna and Nichadas, you're eternal servant of Krishna. And that Krishna's your best friend. Krishna says, Ham Sudasya Prabhu Matasavam Prabhati Matasavam Prabhati Iti Matma Padanti Mam Buddha Bhava Samambita. Krishna says, everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts, and they attain peace from the pangs of material existence. So that is Surinam Sarvabhutanam. I am the friend and well-wisher of all living entities. So Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god. All the ancient cultures in the world, they worship the sun. The Greeks, the Egyptians, the Aztecs, the Incas, the Persians, the Japanese, the Chinese, the Indians, they all worship the sun. So the Bhagavad Gita was spoken to the sun god millions of years ago, but it still started in all the universities in the world. Practically every university in the world has a course on Bhagavad Gita. And the man who invented the atomic bomb, you know what his name was? Oppenheimer. He quoted a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Time I am, destroy the world, behold I have become death. If a million suns were to rise at once. So, Bhagavad Gita is actually real knowledge. Bhagavad Gita will tell you who you are. So you don't need any other books. Throw them all away. They cost a lot more. You know, these universities, they rip people off so much. Like in America, the books, you buy a course book and it costs you £50 or whatever it is, you know, so much money. Bhagavad Gita you get for £5 or whatever. And the Bhagavad Gita has absolute knowledge about who you are. So you can read the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Raju Vijay Rajguyam Pavitram Itamam Pratakshivagam Mamdamam Shushukam Katamabhyam. Krishna says, this knowledge is the king of education, it's the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization as the perfection of religion. So it gives knowledge of who we are. And, you know, we're all wonderful spiritual beings. And when we practice Krishna consciousness, with all the good qualities that Krishna has created in the soul, they start to manifest. Like, you know, knowledge, kindness, tolerance, mercifulness, truthfulness, cleanliness, so many different things that are natural to the soul. And when we practice spiritual life, these things, you know, like as you practice Krishna consciousness, you develop a real distaste for material life. Like I used to listen to all kinds of music, and I tried, I tried to listen to it a few years ago. I listened to Bob Dylan again. It was just so meaningless. It has absolutely nothing to give. But spiritual life, you know, even a little endeavor takes you a long way. So, you know, like chanting Hare Krishna is not always easy. I don't know how many of you chant Hare Krishna, but it's not so easy to do 16 rounds a day, every single day. But it's an austerity. Austerity, it means that you do something which is a little bit difficult, but you get incredible benefit from it. So I don't even find it easy. I've been doing it for 45 years. It's not that easy. But I've never missed a day. Because basically, when you chant, Krishna reveals truth to you. And when you know the truth, you don't have an attraction for living in illusion. Because that's what people are doing. They're living in a dream world. They're living in a false reality. So we don't want to live in a false reality and make all kinds of errors by which we have to get reactions and learn the hard way. So if we take on this austerity of chanting, you don't have to chant 16 rounds a day every day, but if you're serious about making spiritual progress, you have to gradually build up to that. It doesn't matter how old you are. We have our friend here, Hare Krishna. No. Paramananda. Sorry. Hare Krishna got initiated at the same time. Right?
Sorry?
Hare Krishna got initiated at the same time.
Right, yeah.
That was that young boy.
Yeah, Harry's alright, yeah.
Yeah. So I was there when he got initiated. How old are you now?
Almost 57.
57.
Almost, yeah.
57.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm 73. So, it doesn't matter how old you are, but if you actually make a commitment, commit to Krishna, your mind will tell you there's so many reasons to not commit to Krishna, but Krishna's there, Krishna's in your heart, Krishna's God. If you go to India, practically everybody in India has a name that you can relate to Krishna. Everybody. What's your name?
Sai Jagadishwar.
What is it?
Sai Jagadishwar.
Jagadishwar. Okay, Jagadishwar, what's that mean?
I'm not sure.
Jagadish means the Lord of the universe. Like Jagannath. Jagannath means the Lord of... Jagadish means the Lord of the universe. So all the names in India, what's your good name?
Kaveri.
What is it?
Kaveri.
Kaveri?
Yeah, it's a river in India.
It's what?
It's a river in India.
It's a what in India?
It's a river in India.
A river?
Yeah.
Okay. So a river in India. So, the rivers are sacred in India, like the Ganges. That's another thing. You see, they have this big festival coming up, the Kumbh Mela. And the Kumbh Mela is a huge festival, 25 million people go to it. It's every 12 years. And they're celebrating an event that took place millions and millions of years ago. The Kumbh Mela is a celebration of the fact that the river Ganges came down from the spiritual world. Because this one incarnation of God, who's a dwarf, Rama, there's a beautiful story in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the history of the universe. So if you want to know the history of the universe going back for millions and millions of years, you just have to read the Srimad Bhagavatam. It tells you who the original man was. The original man's name was Manu. That's why we call man. Swayambhuva Manu. So it talks about in the 8th canto this incarnation of the world called Vamanadev. Vamanadev was an incarnation of Krishna. He appeared as a dwarf. And at that particular time, see, there's in the heavenly planets, there's gooders and badders, okay? So the gooders are called demigods and the badders are called demons. And they have fights. And so at this time, the badders had actually beaten the gooders. The demigods had been defeated by the demons. But the demons weren't really that bad. Bali Maharaj was the king of the demons. But he was actually a decent person, because everyone was better now in those days than what they are nowadays. So Bali Maharaj, he conquered the heavenly planets. So the demigods, they prayed that to the Supreme Lord, okay? Please come and help us, because Krishna helps those that praise to him. So it's good to pray, okay? We don't pray for a nice new Lexus motor car. You can if you want, but you're just cheating yourself. We pray for becoming a better person, for helping other people, for being able to chant Hare Krishna. So anyway, they prayed to Lord Narayan, another name for God, Narayan. And he agreed to appear. So he appeared as a dwarf. And he came as a dwarf, and he appeared before Bali Maharaj. And he was very beautiful, because God is always beautiful, even when he appears as a fish. God has many different forms, but all these forms are incredibly beautiful. He even appears as a boar, a pig, but he's incredibly beautiful. Of course, his most beautiful form is Krishna. So he appeared as a dwarf, and he was so beautiful. This Bali Maharaj, he wanted to offer him so many things, because he understood that Vamanadev, the dwarf, was the Brahmin, and it was the duty of people to offer genuine Brahmins some gift. Of course, we don't find many genuine Brahmins, but that was the culture at the time. The Brahmins were like the best class of people, the most intelligent, who could help others. So when he said, okay, you've got to accept something from me, because it's my duty to offer you something. You can have whatever you like. I can give you, I can give you villages and towns and cows and whatever. He said, no, I don't really want anything. I'm completely satisfied within myself. But all I want is 3 steps of land. Okay, he was a dwarf, so his steps weren't very big. So Bali Maharaj said, he said, okay, you can have 3 steps of land. So then Vamanadev expanded himself into a huge, gigantic form. And with 1 step, he crossed over half the universe. Of course, we may not believe this, but we can't say it's not true because we weren't there. And God can do anything. Just like when Krishna came, he did so many inconceivable things. He lifted a mountain with his little finger, but he could have lifted billions of mountains with his little finger. He can do anything. So that's God. He's not limited by the material energy, by time and space. He's beyond these things. We're all limited. So how are these planets floating in the sky? They're not colliding. They don't have, petrol stations up there powering, but they're moving around very fast. It's all happening on schedule. Every day the sun comes up at the same time. So anyway, he expanded himself into a gigantic form. And with 1 step, he covered half the universe. And then he took another step, and he covered the other half of the universe. But with the 2nd step, he kicked a hole in the covering of the universe. And the water from the spiritual world came in to this universe. And that water is the Ganges water. And the Ganges came down, was carried down, and so they celebrate this happening that took place millions and millions of years ago, and still 25 million people come to this event. It's a lot better than, watching Formula 1 racing or watching football or something. And they don't have to get drunk or anything. There's no violence. They don't have any violence whatsoever. And in yoga, as Prabhupada said, the yogas come down from the Himalayas. Some of them are hundreds of years old. They come down for this event. So all these things are beyond our intelligence to understand because they're inconceivable. And we're all so limited. So we just have to have faith, and ultimately, if you put your faith in spiritual things, you'll get the best result. Material things don't give you any benefit. I used to be an atheist, he used to be an atheist, he was telling me today, was it good fun? It drives you crazy, the material world drives you crazy. So, chanting Hare Krishna actually makes you happy. And it's, like I said, it may be difficult to do it, but if you do it, you won't be sorry. If you stick with it, make a vow. Okay, I'm going to chant 2 rounds every day for 3 months, and then I'm going to chant 4 rounds every day. For me, I was suffering so much. I actually came from a good family. I went to a private school. I went to Dover College. It's not like Oxford, it's okay. It was a private public school. My father was an architect. I was a fashion photographer. And, I had good parents and everything else, but I was trying to be happy in the wrong way. I was a hippie. And I wasn't happy. I hitchhiked to India twice before I joined up the Hare Krishna movement. But when I got a book, this is in 1974, I got a book and a record, like a 33 LP long playing record. And the next day I went to the temple, and I liked it. This was at the manor. I went to the Bhakti Yoga manor, and I just decided, okay, I'm going to join this. So I joined the next day, and I started chanting 16 rounds a day, and I never stopped. And that's been my life. I've had a great life. I never would change it for anything else. It's just, I've had a wonderful life. And, there's no other culture or religion, nothing, philosophy, nothing that has all the answers. Krishna consciousness has all the answers for everything you need to know. Like health. I never go to see Western doctors. I don't, any doctors here? I don't trust them. I really don't. I never get sick because I got a cold right now, but that's the only thing I ever get. And I drink my cow's milk. I got my own cows, raw milk, very important. Ahimsa, non-violent milk. So, I joined 45 years ago. I've had a great life, and this opportunity is there for everybody. You just have to make your mind up to do it. It doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter your material situation. Put spiritual life first. Make it your priority. Even if, I've never even hardly had to work. Krishna's looked after me all the time because I go out preaching. Krishna makes my life very easy. So this is what the world needs. It needs people who understand what reality is, what the truth is, that Krishna's God, and you can't be happy without Krishna, and go out and tell other people about it. Because that's where the bliss is actually, is trying to give other people Krishna consciousness. Like if you have something very wonderful, you want to share it with other people, right? It's like when you see a good movie or hear a new recording of something, you want to, my friends, you should listen to this, it's great, But Krishna consciousness is the real thing. And if you try to tell other people about Krishna, you actually experience a higher happiness. So that's what Krishna consciousness is all about. It's all about being happy, but you experience real happiness, and you see the difference between real happiness and what you thought was happiness before. And then you want to get more and more and more of it. So please take it seriously. Krishna will never let you down. Krishna loves you. Krishna's in your heart. And you'll have a very successful life if you try to put Krishna in the center. So do you have any questions, any of you?
Yeah, one quick question. Somewhere in the Bhagavad Gita I'm reading that the Hare Krishna, that you yourself are kinder than Krishna. So he says, that you yourself are kinder than Krishna, in that he
Kinder than Krishna.
is kinder than, in that, doesn't he say not, there's a part in it where he talks about wasting valuable time? Because I heard this. Is that correct? I wonder if you can give me an understanding of the dissonance there. Yeah, so is it kind of selfishness to a point where you understand it and it's easy to distribute? Or do you go out distributing it before you even really understand what you're doing?
Well, if you believe it, but you don't really have a lot of knowledge about it, you can still go out and distribute it. You still get the benefit. I didn't really know that much about it when I first became a devotee, but I went out, we went out right away pretty much after a couple of weeks. We went out in a van and distributed books. And, I just believed in it. And, even if you don't know much about it, you know that eating meat's bad or taking drugs is bad, and that, you're happy not doing those things, and, why don't you try this? And, so there's things you can say, you can just live by your own experience, because if you do it, you'll feel happy.
I just wondered why he would advise not to waste valuable time.
Well, I don't know advice them. It's a long advice.
The human life is a very special thing to have. It's a very rare thing to have, because there's 8,400,000 different species of life in the entire universe, and we go through all of them. And getting a human birth is the only time that you can actually comprehend what we are and where we come from. So that's why it's not. That's why we should not waste valuable time. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you want to go out and distribute books?
I don't mind, for sure. For sure, yeah, why not?
Have you done it?
No, I haven't yet, no.
Well, I'm sure.
It's a very rewarding thing to do it.
Yeah.
Mentor Chaitanya will take you out.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
I mean, don't get cold feet.
No.
You should follow through on it because it is a wonderful feeling. I mean, basically, that's why I do it because it makes me happy. I do it everywhere I go. Like when I was in Delhi, I just like to meet there's a lot of nice people out there. There's a lot of people who are suffering a lot because they don't know anything about Krishna and they're very confused. And you're giving an opportunity to actually become happy after millions of lifetimes, even if you don't really understand very much about it. If it seems like it's the truth to you and you believe in it, that's all that counts. If you have conviction, you can just go out. You don't have to know very much about it.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I've always, like in my family, there's not a single person who doesn't believe in God. But at the same time, none of them have ever been to church.
Okay, so that's the better kind of person.
Right.
The ones that have been to church.
Yeah. So I'm very happy to call God Krishna now. It's a very fortunate thing to be able to put a name to a personality.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing that, the Hare Krishna movement is the only philosophy that tells you who God is. None of the others have any idea who God is.
They tell you the servant of God, like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they think Christ is God. But Christ never said he was God.
No.
I was in Russia actually, and I went to a lot of churches. I was just a tourist. I wasn't just a tourist, but I did some looking around. I went to some beautiful churches. So they have beautiful pictures, incredible art, good artists, and they make Christ into God. Christ has all these angels around him and all these, big halo and everything else, because they don't know who God is. So, and the Muslims, they have no idea who God is. The Jews don't know who God is. There's no other religion that comes anywhere near close to Krishna consciousness. No other religion tells you about life on other planets. Maybe the Zoroastrians, where they were from? They were originally from India, but they settled in Persia, Iran. And the Muslims converted them to Islam in about 10 days by the sword. Because they were pretty heavy, the Muslims. So, there's no other religion that tells you very much about anything. But, the Vedas tell you about, even health, how to keep healthy. Astronomy, astrology, mathematics came from India.